What General Weygand called the Battle of France is over. I expect that the Battle of Britain is about to begin.
Very good afternoon from London, England. I am in the heart of the city, Westminster, the home of Big Ben, the Houses of Parliament, and a secret underground war room that was used by Winston Churchill in the Second World War. That's where I'm heading in just a few moments, but before I get there, COVID-19 has changed everything, and London isn't the only city that is quieter than usual, but it is a lot quieter than usual. So I'm going to take a quick look around the deserted streets of Westminster, show you a little bit about the place, and then we'll head to the war rooms. And I'm on my way to a formerly very secret location, certainly very secret during the Second World War, because Winston Churchill used it as the base to defeat Adolf Hitler during the years 1939 to 1945. It was never spoken about, never revealed to the British public until years later, and in 1984 it was actually opened up, and this is the Churchill War Rooms underneath the Treasury, a place he directed the British effort against Nazi Germany. That's where I'm heading right now. It is just around the corner from Horse Guards Parade, this beautiful area of London, and the war rooms are somewhere around about there, because right ahead of me is the Treasury and it is below that. Social distancing is in force. I'm just entering now the museum, as it is the war cabinet, it says here, and got given a little speaker system so I can hear commentary as I walk around, so see if we can find a way in. This is where Churchill met with his senior ministers, the so-called cabinet, and they were driven down here as Nazi bombing raids intensified over the city. The clock is frozen at 4:58 p.m. and that's the time of Churchill's first ever meeting of the cabinet down here on the 15th of October 1940. Right there is the door that served as the entrance into the war room, and it was always guarded by a Royal Marine Guard who stood here on duty. That's how Churchill and the cabinet would have got into the war room, and this would have been the officers' mess. There's a little sign here that would have told the people down here what the weather was up above. Behind this glass is the kitchen that was used by Winston Churchill's cook during times when he was down here in the bunker. Mrs. Landemar, I think her name was. She had to move everything at a moment's notice because you never knew where the Prime Minister was and where he wanted to eat. Could be down here in the war rooms, but it could also be up in the annex, which was his secret living quarters that are the ground floor of the building above. So along a bit now, and this is some of the living quarters down here in the bunker of the Deputy Secretary of the War Cabinet. Got his own office space and bed, living quarters. And this looks like the living quarters in the bunker of Clementine Churchill, Winston's wife, on perhaps nights and days when they couldn't make it above ground because perhaps it was too dangerous. They were expecting a war raid or something like that. This is a meeting room for the Joint Chief of Staffs. It says here, this is their conference room, if I can get it on the film there. Some of the most important strategic decisions of the Second World War were taken in this room. So these were meetings that were held without the War Cabinet and with Winston Churchill not in attendance, but his Chief of Staff would represent him in the meetings that went on in this conference room. Back in the 1940s, the Prime Minister would only have 2 personal bodyguards in his protection team, and this room was set aside for them to sleep and stay so that they could remain close to Winston Churchill. The Cabinet War Rooms are actually below the Treasury building, which is close to number 10 Downing Street, and you can access the War Rooms through a secret compartment in the Treasury. And Winston Churchill had the ground floor of the Treasury built into an annex for him to live in above ground when he wanted to be up above the war room. And this is a good illustration right here. You can see the Treasury building there, and this black thick line is an up to 3 metre thick layer of concrete that was added between 1940 and 1943. The war room is this section here, and then underneath is the dock, which is the sub-basement of the complex. We're about to look inside the transatlantic telephone room that was disguised as Winston Churchill's private toilet. And this was actually the room he could come into, and it had a direct line to the American president. So right here in the middle of the war rooms is a museum that's been set up to remember and celebrate the life of Winston Churchill. And in here it tells the story of his life and how he fought the Nazis during the Second World War and what tactics he used. And also it goes through a lot of the speeches that he made during that period. There is a wealth of information in here. And at the end here, a portrait of the man himself. Poster issued at the time to show the British public the difference between German and British airships. So if they saw them in the sky, they either would or would not be alarmed. Right, so I've just left the museum and we're now in the plant room. Got all that equipment over there. This is BBC Broadcasting Equipment Room. Winston Churchill made 4 addresses to the nation from down here in the war rooms, and they're actually playing them. The first one was September the 11th, 1940, just as bombing raids from Nazi Germany were intensifying here in Britain. And the first speech was made on the 11th of September 1940, as I said. They were designed to raise the spirits of the British people. Tough times, bombings every night and deaths every day. So earlier I may have called this place a bunker, but it actually wasn't a bunker in the true sense of the word. It was more a transformed basement area with a 3 metre thick concrete ridge above on the roof of the basement here, separating it from the Treasury above, as I may have spoke about earlier. It was never known if the Treasury building above collapsed because of bombing, whether or not it would collapse into this area. So it was never guaranteed, and Churchill knew it, that it would withstand a heavy bombing campaign from the Nazis. This now is the advanced headquarters of the GHQ Home Forces. All happening inside these war rooms, these tunnels, these secret compartments that nobody knew was here apart from Churchill's extreme inner circle. Work began in 1938 to transform this basement area into potential war rooms, and it was completed in 1939, August the 27th, just a few days before Nazi Germany attacked Poland and a week before Britain declared war on Nazi Germany. This is the map room, Winston Churchill's private bedroom. A little sofa area over there behind the pillar, and the desk where he would work and deliver addresses via the BBC that would flow through that control room that I showed you a few minutes ago. He didn't actually like it down here though. During the whole period it was in operation, he only actually slept down here 3 times. So this is the famed map room, the hub of information. Everything was collated here overnight usually and delivered to Churchill and the King at 9 AM every morning. And it had links all around the world to British territories so that they could be updated in here as to what was happening around the world on a second-by-second basis. There we go, I am out of the war rooms. They're just over the other side of the road there. The front entrance, and then the exit is just to the right there where I popped out of. Top secret, that's why you can't see it. But yeah, what a great experience seeing where Winston Churchill directed the British efforts during World War II. It is, by the way, £22 for an adult to get in and £11 for a child, but if you go on the website you can get various family deals and all of that. The lady, as I was leaving, said that they usually have about 3,000 people a day. Unfortunately, because of COVID-19 and coronavirus and all of that, the attendance today was 30 people, which is very, very sad to hear. A lot of businesses are going to struggle through this pandemic, and I really hope they can make it through, because it is a phenomenal, educationally rich experience. Right, I'm going to head back into Westminster and check out the deserted streets in the heart of London. Just up ahead is the home of the British Prime Minister, 10 Downing Street. You can't get to it because it's heavily guarded, as you would imagine. So I'm going to take a walk past that and then head a bit further up to Parliament Square. It's where the Prime Minister lives. I'm standing in Parliament Square, the place that you see a lot of on TV with a lot of protesters in. And just over to the right of the shot now is the Palace of Parliament, another really famous building here in central London. It's where Parliament sits, and that is a building originally built 1,000 years ago, but it burnt to the ground in the 1800s and was rebuilt in a slightly Gothic style, I'd say, in around about 1850. So it's been there in that form for about 150 years. And the big tower with the scaffolding around it straight ahead, well, that is Big Ben, officially named the Elizabeth Tower, but nicknamed Big Ben because that's the name of the largest bell at the top of the tower. Usually you'd be able to see the massive clock face, but it is under restoration,
It's due to be all completed in around about 2021, I believe. And then just over the other side of the square is the man himself, the man we were looking at a bit earlier. There he is, backlit so you can't see him brilliantly, but he's up there nonetheless. Churchill written on his pedestal. Right, I'm gonna head across now towards Westminster Bridge. You can see just how few people there are around. I'm guessing that any ordinary late summer's evening, and this place would be pretty busy. It's just coming up to 7 o'clock. I have made it to Trafalgar Square, a very famous square here in London, named after the Battle of Trafalgar that was won by the British in 1805 against the French and the Spanish. And in the centre there is Nelson's column. The Battle of Trafalgar was a battle just off the Cape of Trafalgar in Spain, southern Spain. The square is known very well for its fountains and its monuments of lions over the other side that you may not be able to see. But perhaps the most famous monument here is the Nelson's Column monument that is in remembrance of Admiral Horatio Nelson, who died in that battle in 1805 in that particular war. Whoa! Lots of history here in London, wherever you go. I am going to call it a night with the video, so thanks very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and in the meantime I'll leave you with a few shots of London at night. Good night from the capital.